Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. This is episode 107 of Manifesting with Meg, Conversations with Extraordinary People. And I am so excited to be on with all of you, bringing this incredible, amazing romance author to the floor to shine a bright light on her and everything that she's accomplished this last year. And the theme just gets me going today. Unlock the beauty within through love. And this is the month of love. February is the month of love. And I just love that I get to share it with all of you. So without further ado, today our special guest, once again, Valerie Taylor. She is the award-winning author of the What's Not trilogy. Oh my God, trilogy. That's a huge accomplishment. That's 3, baby. 3 coming at you. And it's amazing. The books, you're going to love them. I want to remind all of you, this is my year of Empowered with Purpose or Through Purpose, and about transformation, dreams, inspiration, true happiness, discovering bliss. We are just a conversation away from extraordinary. It's time to wake up to the possibility of our dreams packed with amazing, 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 amazing things coming our way. Something wonderful is always about to happen. And without further ado, everybody all together set your intention. I do have a special Valentine's surprise for everyone who is joining us and watching and sharing. Please do get this woman's books out there. She's amazing. I am going to gift one of you lucky listeners today a free copy of What's Not Lost. So get excited, get ready, and here we go. We set our intentions, and Val, pick one of your wonderful intentions and add it to one of the Magical Guide to Bliss numbers. And at the end of the day, we are going to hear that at the end of the show, and away we go. So Valerie Taylor, how are you today, my friend?
I am really great, Meg. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of Manifesting with Meg.
I am so excited for you to be here. And you know, we did have an amazing author interview, but I always said that when you hit the trifecta, you're coming on. I'm taking you here, and I want to introduce you on a greater scale. You are born and raised in Stamford, Connecticut. 30-year career in the financial services industry as a marketer and writer. After your divorce, you spread your wings and relocated your career first to Boston, then to Seattle. When you retired, you resettled in Shelton, Connecticut to be near your 2 grown children and granddaughter, who you definitely is the apple of your eye. You're a published book reviewer with booktrib.com. Many of you authors out there know BookTrib for sure. And a member of the Westport Writers Workshop, the Independent Book Publishers Association, and the Women's Fiction Writers Association. You enjoy practicing Tai Chi and being an expert sports spectator, which I'm sure you were watching the Super Bowl this past weekend. What's Not Said was your debut novel, followed by the sequel, What's Not True, in 2021. And now we have the final book in her trilogy, What's Not Lost, that just launched on February 7th, 2023. So it is so great to have you. Welcome, Lee Bukowski, for joining us. Thank you so much. Wow. I can't even tell you. I just adore you, Valerie. So let's just start there. And I'm so excited to continue season 6 with you and with all the inspiration you bring. And I love that fact that we have inspiration, not only, but romance novels with us today. And I'm going to show everyone the beautiful covers that come with Val, the What's Not Said, What's Not True, What's Not Lost novels. And you guys have to go jump on and find out what they're all about. But before we go on, how are you today, my friend?
I am great. I feel like we're the yin and the yang. So I hope people love this because, Meg, you embody everything that is gracious and loving and outgoing. And I embody everything that is kind of laid back and slow. I even walk slow. But, so we're a great pair. You have dark hair. I have white hair.
There we go. But you are definitely beautiful inside and out, and your ability to write is encapturing and wonderful. And you just have a gift, and it's amazing that you were in the financial markets for a bit, certainly as a writer, but you were in the markets for a while. And I love, we were listening to our friend Leslie this morning, Leslie Rasmussen, on a bit that she was doing, and it's all about recreating or reinventing yourself. And that is certainly what you have done with this particular trilogy, and you've got more to come. But before we go on, I just want to reiterate today's theme is based in love. Obviously, we have the love theme in February with Valentine's Day that we land in a wonderful story about Valentine's Day and Galentine's Day, or whatever you want to call it. But the reality is, how do you unlock the beauty within through love? And I find it amazing that when you just kind of channel your gifts toward that thing that makes you come alive, which certainly is writing romance novels. My God, you're very, very gifted at it. But even more so, just figuring out, even at any age, right? Before, you could be like 20, 13, whatever, who knows? But that calling that's pulling you forward, and that is unlocking that beauty within. So today's quote, which I love because I do love the Jesuits, is by Jean-Pierre de Caussade, S.J. He's a French Jesuit priest and writer, and it's, "The present moment holds infinite riches beyond your wildest dreams, but you will only enjoy them to the extent of your faith and love. The more soul loves, the more it longs. The more it hopes, the more it finds." And this is the quote for today's day in the magical guide to bliss, which I'll put up here next to Val's beautiful books. Now, I always turn to my guests and ask what their take is with regard to this. But I wanted to say first and foremost, before we go, is I love this notion that this is a wondrous day that is filled with riches, infinite riches beyond our imagination. And we get to discover what those are. And I got kind of excited with preparing for this interview because I know I've known you for now a little over, it feels like 2 years almost for certain.
Probably, yeah.
And the infinite riches I gain from learning from you and watching how beautifully you persist and your curiosity delves or guides you on the path that speaks loudest to you. And now we have these beautiful books. So tell me, I'm going to turn it back to you. Lee is saying reinvention is inspiring. Your reinvention is inspiring. But back to you, and I'm going to take down the magical guide because I only want to see your books today. Tell me what your thoughts are on this.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts, but first I have a theory that I'd like to share, and I don't know if you would agree with it, but I have a theory about Valentine's Day.
Oh, I like theories.
And that I think on Valentine's Day, people smile the most.
Ah, yeah.
We have all kinds of other holidays during the year, but I don't think it's universal the way that Valentine's Day is. And everyone has their own experiences with it. But I think Valentine's Day gives us the permission to smile at everyone during the day.
Like that.
And as we smile, I think that invites kindness. And then with kindness comes love. So that's where I am at.
That's beautiful. The inside also is, an act of love, kindness, smile even is just something that can not only boost your own endorphins, but bring others along too. I walk around the island where I live in Miami, and it's interesting because it's kind of like catching a smile. I call it catching a smile. You smile at someone, you say Happy Valentine's Day, or even any kind of other greeting. And it's the amazing exchange of that love energy that comes back. So I love that you're saying that. It's an opportunity for certain. Yes.
So I'm wondering, as we're talking about smiling, we went through a few years, obviously, where we were wearing masks. Didn't necessarily see those smiles. Now a lot of masks have come off, but I think people have also learned to smile with their eyes.
Ah, that's so interesting.
And I think that that's really important as well.
I love that. And I used to have a friend told me, and this was a great tip, that she says when you're talking to someone even over the phone, when they can't even see you, and you put a big smiley face on the phone, or put love or whatever is going to inspire, they can actually hear it in your voice too. So we can relay the sense of, or the sentiment of love in many different retrospects, right? For certain, smiling when you see me, or with your eyes, or even with your voice. There's an aspect to all of us when we come across with just wonderful, good energy, that people will receive it. So I love that you say that, with the eyes, the smile, and also you could do it with your voice as well.
And I think that when I wrote my books, I love my books and I love my stories. And I know they say when your first book, authors don't love their first book, but I love my first book. And I'd be, writing a scene and I would be laughing out loud. And I think, are people going to laugh, or is it just my own humor, right? We laugh at our own jokes. And, what I found is that people do laugh out loud with the stories. And so that's very rewarding to me.
Isn't that a wonderful thing that you actually literally go forth with an intention to bring humor into people's world by virtue of the words that you choose? And I find, even like I call it Happy Val's Day. This is our Happy Val's Day. So on behalf of Val today, if you didn't feel like Valentine was something that calls you, maybe Happy Val's Day would have you go out and smiling at other people, and maybe bringing a laugh or a good word or something true to that. What's not wrong with that? Yeah,
sounds
for sure.
good to me. Yeah,
I love it. I want to say that, onto your story. Once again, congratulations for, your incredible accomplishment with these 3 books, and the covers are gorgeous as well. And I love the symbolism too, the keys and then the rings, and then the rose with, it's a drachma, right? That's the Greek coin. What is
it's a gold Athena.
Okay.
Greek Athena coin. And that's in the story. So you have to read the story to find the meaning.
But I mean, was this something that just like the symbolism was something that you intended, or it was something that you found when you worked with the cover art?
No, it's part of the story.
Yeah.
So I suggested it as a motif. If I could just digress for a minute. Please. About my covers, I was very intentional. The first 2 books were published by She Writes Press, and I self-published What's Not Lost. However, She Writes did the cover for What's Not Lost, and giving them clues of what I would like on the cover, I wanted them clean and I wanted them simple, like me. So I didn't want any scenery or people. It had to be a motif of some kind, and so that's why. But when I did What's Not Said, that was supposed to be the only book. That was my one and done, right? And then so many people asked me what was going to happen to Cassie and Chris. I went on and said, okay. So I wrote What's Not True and then What's Not Lost. So I don't know if I would have what I would have done differently. Would I have named, What's Not Said something else? Would I have done something else instead of, who knows? But this is what it is, and I'm very pleased.
I love to equate this to, we all know the hero's journey, right? How it goes, the writer's journey, when you begin, you sit down at the page and it speaks to you, or it doesn't speak to you. It just stares at you, maybe sometimes. Right. But as you start developing the story, because, I love the storytellers and love how the art of the storytelling is just an incredible process. And a lot of authors, delving into the brain as to how that actually happens is so intriguing to me, because, everybody has a different skill set and everybody has a different process. So you're saying that, when you sat down for What's Not Said, you never intended to write 2 more is fascinating to me, because at the end of the day, it's what comes through you, right? And maybe nudged on by your audience that shows up and is like all excited about, oh, tell me more about that story. These people that you come to love and really get curious about. now that you're done with all three, and I'm going to put up here your cover art alone for What's Not Lost, but how do you feel? Like, is it a sense of, yay, done, I get to move on? Or is it like, oh, I'm going to miss these characters?
I actually think I'm going to miss them a bit because, Cassie grew so much, especially in the last book. And I introduced a whole new man. And I have been asked to continue, but I'm not. So I think I've tied it up enough, and people have to accept that so I can go on.
So you can move on to the next character
thing.
that's calling through you. For sure. Well, let me give everybody a brief synopsis as to What's Not Lost, because that is the one we are in fact celebrating. Its launch is only a week old today. So happy week birthday to you. It's What's Not Lost. So through the eyes of an overachiever, the schemes of a homewrecker, and the magic of a bottle of wine, who doesn't love that, and a cat, award-winning author Valerie Taylor propels this captivating and heartwarming romance to an unpredictable and delightful conclusion. Cassie O'Callaghan, the main protagonist, is searching for herself and for answers. Aren't we all? So we might all find ourselves in this story with her husband 6 feet under and an engagement ring on her finger. That's going to be like little tips of perhaps something fun going on. Cassie's convinced managing a company merger in Paris, who doesn't love Paris, will complete her quest for recognition on her own terms when she learns her fiance's ex-girlfriend is pregnant. God help us. Cassie's dreams come tumbling down, at least for the moment, despite pleas from her younger fiance to stay in Boston, which literally is the area that Valerie is from, and a warning from her best friend forever of what's at stake if she should leave. Cassie heads to Paris with courage and perseverance. Love those two words, powerful words in all of our lives. There, of course, she stumbles into a world of wine and roses as she tries to put the wisdom of her experience to the ultimate test. Who doesn't love that? When a Greek businessman tries to rescue her, Cassie discovers in life, it's not whether you win or lose, it's the way you love that counts, which goes into the theme of today. It's the way we love that counts. So if you're a fan of Leanne Moriarty, Emily Giffen, or Debbie Macomber, or give this contemporary humorous romance in the entire series a try. So you might find another love, certainly, with these books. So I just wanted to give her a shout. I'm so proud of you. I've seen you go through the process of publishing, self-pubbing this, and as an indie author all around. And it's just super exciting to be on your street team. We call it the street team. To see this come to fruition. What is the biggest, the teaser perhaps that you would want that might intrigue my audience or your readers to come pick up number 3 and engage in that?
Ooh. Well, I would say, if they've read the first 2, I think it's a natural progression to come into the third. But if they haven't, I've seen reviews from readers who haven't read the first 2 who have said they want to read them, but it is a great standalone. And because there is enough of the backstory brought into it so that they can pick up on the different characters. I think that, I think the Boston interest is huge for people. And I did have someone tell me that they liked seeing where they went in town and everything, but also that it has this Paris and Greece aspect to it. I just loved, the first book had Venice, and then the second book was Paris, and then Paris and Greece in the third, and I've been to all 3 places. So I think that people love the setting and the scenery, but also I've gotten huge comments about my dialogue.
Yes.
And that it is like someone said it's like the chef's kiss.
Yes. Oh, what a great compliment. That's wonderful.
Compliment. And I think it comes very naturally to me because kind of like I said at the beginning, like we're the yin and the yang, and I'm kind of laid back, but being laid back allows me to be a people watcher and a people listener. And so I kind of listen to the way that people actually talk and how they don't always talk in full sentences, and they leave things to the imagination of other people, and so I really pride myself in writing dialogue, and I think people have come to enjoy it and say it's spot on. So.
And dialogue is not that easy to write in many respects. I mean, you really do have to study the human condition, because you have to engage what you don't want to say. Well, she said, and then it's boring. You want people to be like, I'm there with you, which you did a really great job with that on What's Not Lost. Certainly, I read them all. You definitely do have a knack for that. And it's interesting that you say that you're this this watcher of other people, so that you'll be able to ascertain, like perhaps different mannerisms that come out in the different conversations. I love that. So one of the things that I do love to do with my show is get what inspires you. And certainly that comes across, obviously, for me, is quotes. I love people who have certain quotations that get them going. And many of you, and first of all, the ones that are on the podcast, this is a beautiful image of the road, and it's like a crack in the road, and there's this beautiful magenta flower, like hot pink magenta flower popping through. And underneath, do the thing you think you cannot do. Eleanor Roosevelt. But let's start there. This is the first inspirational quote that Valerie's offered to me. And one of the things I love to know is, tell me what this means to you.
Well, when you asked me for some inspirational quotes, I was like, oh my God. And then I realized, really, they're all around me. I mean, all my life they're all over my refrigerator. And I can remember, like when I was going through my divorce years ago, I had them all over my mirror. But this one, do the thing you cannot do, is actually a quote on my refrigerator. And it really, it is something that helps me get through each day, because I think there's a lot of barriers in our lives that we face every day. And it fuels me with energy, so that when I come up to doing an interview with Meg, I can't do this. And then I say, yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can do this. So it helps me overcome. It's been something that has been really part of my life. I mean, I went to college at the University of Missouri just for a year, but I had never flown on an airplane. I went out to a college that I didn't know a soul. When I went out to live in Seattle in 2006, I didn't know a soul out there. And I was, taking on a whole new job out in an area that was totally unfamiliar to me. So I didn't think I could write 3 books.
And here we are.
So that is, it really epitomizes me. And I tried to find a red rose in a crack, but I couldn't. So this was the closest I could find. So
it's kind of also, it seems like it's kind of like bloom where you're planted. And I think even if it's in a rough road that you like literally, like probably cars are driving past and it's coming. The fact is that it's still this beautiful unfolding of your life. And I love that you say that this is something that inspires you on the daily, because a lot of people are even after, like you said, the pandemic, they're kind of paralyzed in this, oh my God, I have to get back into the world again. Oh my God, what does that look like? Oh my God, I'm scared. I have fear. And then when you're like saying to yourself, okay, break it down. What is that thing that I think I cannot do? And perhaps looking at it a different way that would inspire you to engage your day differently. So I love that this is the first one we're talking about. And then we go to this beautiful one, play the hand you're dealt. And I'm going to, well, maybe you know how to say the author's name a little bit better.
Well, not his first name, but it's from Nehru. And I didn't realize it until I looked it up, because I would say, play the cards you're dealt. Okay. And so this is a saying apparently I have used with my family like forever. And I just discovered about 6 months ago, I said it to my granddaughter, Cecilia, and she's 10. And she kind of like, you know, threw her hands in the air and said, oh, you know, Mom hates when you say that.
Oh, I love it.
And I didn't know that. And so guess what?
Oh, that's
I
great.
say it even more.
Of course, why not? Yeah.
But I actually even wove it into What's Not Lost. I know it's there somewhere. I can't tell you exactly where, but I remember writing it, and I was like, yeah. So this, you know, to me, this kind of goes along with do the thing you think you cannot do. You know, it's kind of a companion piece, because to me it means that there are things in our life that we can control and things that we cannot.
Yeah.
And we need to understand what the difference is. And to me, that's kind of, isn't the serenity prayer
It is.
along that way? Yeah. And for as long as I was married, I actually had the serenity prayer taped inside a cabinet right by the kitchen sink.
Oh, I love that.
And so it kind of helped me get through the marriage.
Well, you know, play the hand you're dealt, but you know, as far as, you know, what you do next, you have that mindful awareness as to how it's making you feel, and you make different decisions. It's the choices that we make too, but it's choices when you're given a hand. Okay, I have it. Now, how am I going to move forward with that? Which I think is really interesting. And I saw that. I'm very happy that you explained why you picked this, because a lot of people feel like their circumstances like are the end to them, you know, like, oh, I'm so unlucky, look at my circumstances. And it's really like your perspective as to what it is that is in front of you. Like, for instance, you know, with what you just said, you were divorced, but you know, there's so many things that led up to that final decision, but on the other side of that, you still had to play the hand through. So go ahead, you were going to say something.
I was, and it may be too much information for people, but I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, and not because of the books, but just because of life, about why I got to where I am now.
I love it.
And you know, I was a foster child. My mother left me at a neighbor when I was 6 months old. And so I was one of 4 children. I was the youngest, and my sister eventually came. So there were 4 of us. So 2 belonged to the family, and then my sister and I. And I was the youngest, and I had to survive.
Wow.
And as I grew older, and I was married one time and went through that divorce, and I went through therapy, and they said to me, when I told them everything that had happened to me in my first 24 years or whatever, they said, you know, a lot of people come to us with a lot less baggage than you have, and they are having a hard time making it. And you're doing really well. And they said that I have a very strong survival instinct.
Oh, wow, it's amazing.
And so, you know, I think that has kind of goes along with playing the hand you're dealt. You know, I kind of decided somewhere in my life that all these things that happened to me were not really, I don't like playing the victim card. You know, something happens, then I'm going to play through it and see what the next opportunity.
I love that you say that. And I think that that's a beautiful gift, really. It is that, this, like you even wrote in your, in your bio, courage and perseverance. That is what you wrote in the synopsis for your last book. There is something to be said. Courage comes from heart. Core is Latin for heart, coming from the heart space, that heart space where love emanates. Certainly love for your life, because you haven't given up on that yet. And I could never imagine in a million years that you ever will. And then the perseverance, and I heard this today as well. It's not just being resilient, it's taking what you've been handed, like in your whatever the hand you dealt, I imagine I see it as cards, and using that to catapult the story even further, makes you strong. Whatever this kills you was, makes you stronger, right?
Right.
But, going through it, sometimes we question that. Then we look to people, who are inspirational, right? Lee says, your reinvention is inspiring. And we say, wow, well, look, she can do it. And that's the card she was dealt. Maybe I could as well. And you would start to inspire other people to stand in their glory, for certain. And we have this wonderful last one. I love it because it's definitely perfect. Think before you speak. Read before you think. Fran Lebowitz. And its background is a heart. And it's on a red, beautiful image. So go for it. Tell me about this one.
So this one, I believe, is both aspirational and inspirational. It's aspirational for me because I don't always think before I speak. In fact, there's a story there. When I was working out in Seattle, I developed a reputation for saying things in management meetings, especially that people wanted to say but were too afraid to say. And so it got to the point where when we would go into meetings and nobody would say anything, the CEO would say, "Okay, Valerie, what's your question?" But a very dear friend of mine gave me the nickname of Bad Mallory. So
what does that mean?
Well, I was the one that would open my mouth, not necessarily insert my foot, but I'd be the one that would take the chance and say what everybody else was thinking. And so I took that, and those who have read my books know that there's Bad Cassie.
Yes.
So I was able to kind of bring Bad Mallory to life through Bad Cassie. But I think, I think it's really important that we read. I think it helps obviously inform who we are. And I think that I'm not sure that it prevents me from opening my mouth and inserting my foot, but it's okay. You can always apologize later and say, well, I really didn't mean to.
I love it.
Say that, but anyway, so I think it's a fun quote. And I think a lot of the problems that we're having today, and we don't need to go down a political path, but I think a lot of it has to do with because people don't read. They don't read.
And then where I am, books are being banned. So God help us all. But the bottom line is that as long as we do speak, right, after we read and after we think, then no one will go silent. And I think that that's a beautiful, beautiful tome as well, is that things need to be said. So Bad Mallory or Bad Cassie needs to open her mouth in many respects, in many places, because some things need to be said. And it's interesting that you color yourself as an introvert and someone who is a observer, because Bad Valerie is not an observer. Bad Valerie is she's involved, she's in it, and I think that, you're not giving yourself that.
But I think it's because no one really expects what I have to say to be said.
Yeah.
So people that are, when I was in corporate life, and, people who were very vocal about what they liked and didn't like about what management was doing, I think people would just write them off. But then, because I kind of read before I think, so I kind of studied what the issue was.
Yeah.
And then, so I did that thinking beforehand, right?
Yes.
And so that when I did open my mouth, people listened. What was that commercial? When
You have Hutton Talks.
people listen. So
Yeah.
when Valerie talk, people listen.
Well, it's
So.
true. So, don't ever write anyone off that you think is seemingly, just paying attention, because when they come out, it's going to be right. It's going to be insightful, and it's going to be inciting, because don't screw with someone, it's that whole perseverance and that whole, strength of spirit that comes through. And Tammy's on here. I want to say hello. Thank you. And Rebecca the Hardling is here, and she loves your inspirational coach, which I do as well. One of the things that, I love about this show, and, is that we get to highlight certainly your rom-com in the making, right? Who knows, this might come alive on the screen. There's always that hope for good TV. There's so much content out there, but I always send my wishes to the universe that the things that I enjoy, I actually get to see on the big screen, or even the little screen streaming. But, tell us a little bit about the unfolding of your career. You're speaking a bit to the whole that you were in corporate, you were dealing with management for a bit. I already spoke to the fact that you were, for some time in financial markets. So that was a part of your career too. But, tell us a little bit. I've had the pleasure of reading your books, and the storytelling literally does bring out different components of who you are. You can read it there. And definitely at the end of the day, we'd like to know who the storyteller is, and what became your love of storytelling. Tell us a little bit about that. Why romance particularly? I mean, you have a divorce, why would you go that direction? Because, aspirational, who knows? I don't know.
Well, it's funny, because I didn't start out thinking I was going to write contemporary romance, romantic comedy, or whatever. I had this idea for the end of a story, and I literally carried it from a conference, a writer's conference I did years ago in Boston. I carried it with me out in 2006 to Seattle. I talked to some people out there about it, and they kept saying, "You've got to write it. You've got to write it." And because I knew the ending, and I took some stabs at it. My writing was awful, because it was all financial, corporate, boring crap. And so I brought it back with me to Connecticut when I retired in 2016. And I decided after a year, after getting settled with Cecilia and everything, that either I was going to write this book, or I was going to have to learn how to knit or something. So I took an online course on how to write a novel, and I was really kind of disenchanted, because I learned that there's this 3-act story arc, and I was like, really? Did Charlotte Bronte know that when she wrote Jane Eyre? So I started to write it, and I kind of got my voice. And so I wrote it, and it, like I said, it was one and done. And then people said, we want more. And so I wrote That's Not True, when I knew the middle. And so I had to get to the middle, and then the ending kind of just appeared one day as I was writing.
So magical.
And then when I got to the end of that, it was much easier for me to use that as a jumping off spot for the beginning of What's Not Lost. But then where do I go? And I had some ideas, and then I was in doing a Zoom book club with my ladies back in Seattle, who I used to be in the book club with out there, the Women's University Book Club, not Women's University Club. They're all over the country, all over the world. Anyway, so this one gal who was not in the club when I was there, she just loved my first 2 books. And she said, blah, 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 blah. This is what needs to happen to Cassie. And it was an idea that I hadn't developed yet. And so I took her idea and, massaged it. And actually I had to kick out a storyline, a subplot that I had in order to develop this new plot. Wow. And so I've given her credit for it in the back of the book. But I love the fact that I was able to listen to my readers and actually get to a place in What's Not Lost that thrilled me, actually.
Wow. And first of all, you have lots of readers now. So you have a following. So when you're turning, to the next, you're saying a cozy mystery in the making that, people are going to love you and they're going to follow you. And now it's kind of like one of the most beautiful things I used to remember when I was growing up is sitting around the dinner table sharing stories. And that's basically what a book club is to me, is you're sitting around whatever, wine, perhaps, I don't know, something festive and something engaging in a community circle, and you're telling stories, but you're basically telling them based upon the beauty of the imagination of the author who's offering you a different look into a different part of the world, which is just as exciting, it's, and the fact of the matter is that you got yourself there, and then people start giving their input into how you might get there. And it inspires you to go and step forward. So, the thing about being an extraordinary person, and clearly you are, you've written 3 books, you have had an entire first career, moving on to a second career, stronger than you can even imagine, made it through one relationship, you have this other whole life waiting for you now, as labeled as an award-winning author. One of the things I'd love to know is, how do you inspire? Can you share with us what helps you manifest this life of yours that, moves you toward more of your dreams that you never perhaps thought were even possible in the beginning?
Oh, that's a big question. I think that for me, I developed an interest in mindfulness.
I love it.
And that occurred, it kind of became a thing while, or maybe in the 2000s, 2010. When I was living out in Seattle, the last couple of years I was there, the company was going through a change of ownership, I believe. And it was very stressful. And way back in like 2001, 2002, when I was going through my divorce, I had a hypothyroid tumor or whatever that they took out. It was benign and everything, but they blamed it on stress.
Yes.
Okay, because I was getting laid off. I was going through a divorce. I was going to have to move from Connecticut to Boston. And so when I started going through all this stress in like 2013 out in Seattle, I said, I am not going to get sick again.
I love it.
Okay. And so that's when I started Tai Chi.
I love it.
And so, I got really interested in mindfulness and Tai Chi. And actually, I've always been interested in tarot cards, the whole mysticism and everything. And so I continue today with the whole mindfulness and meditation. I mean, I'm not weird about it, but it kind of goes along with, with the quotes about, doing the thing that you cannot do. I mean, to be able to sit and breathe and kind of go out of yourself or into yourself, in and out, to really kind of get centered on what is going on in your life and keeping it in perspective.
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the hardest things we all have to do, because as you're going through these stressful and anxious times, it's easy to get spun up. And the more we get spun up, the less we're able really to handle it. So that's really what keeps me on this journey, really.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I'm reading a lot of things, and I literally, when I'm off my path, I need to go back to the mindfulness, right? The whole idea of asking, what is this trying to teach me? What am I trying to learn here? What do I need to be aware of here? For me, that is the conversation when I stop and, like you're saying, take the deep breath, do the motions that calm. Tai Chi is very it's very repetitive, for sure. And it's very physical. So you're in your body, you feel it. One of the things I find amazing from what you said is that if, a lot of ways, like, how is this happening for me? That's what it sounds to me like you're saying. And that kind of goes to the whole intentional part of this interview, which I love to delve into, because I find that when I'm focused with intention, my life gets a little bit smoother, unfolding, rather than the staccato, the one that, I, like you said, the stress, letting go a little bit, getting intentional. So back to one of the things I love about this is that since it's based on the Magical Guide to Bliss, I ask you to set your intention at the outset and then pick in number in the book, and then how that matches. So what was your intention at the outset of today's interview?
So this one won't be a surprise to anybody. I mean, for the last several years, I've been concentrating on my mind. Okay. And in doing so, my body has really taken a toll. And in fact, at the beginning of the pandemic, the battery in my scale died, and I couldn't figure out how to change it. Well, just this past week, my son-in-law helped me change the battery. And so I got on the scale, and it's not as bad as I thought, but I really need to intentionally get back into walking and not have it as an excuse, because the gym was closed down. Yeah. And then I was walking outside until we were told that we have bears in the area.
Oh my God.
I can't go out at 7 a.m. to walk, but I can go out at noon. So that's what I'm going to start doing intentionally. And so what I did was, because hopefully I've described myself in all that I've said today, I've always kind of been an outlier, kind of a nonconformist, and that's kind of in my DNA. And so I chose page 65.
So what on 65 speaks to you?
So it's February 29th.
Oh, wow. You're kidding. There's the outlier. There's your outlier.
Take a giant leap, you say.
Oh, wow.
You will travel in a land of marvels. Perhaps you have thought you do not have enough hours in your days to accomplish all the good that needs to be done. Today, you get an added 24 hours, so I have to add to my day, okay? It would behoove you to not waste the chance to do something really special to advance your dreams. Today can be seen as a magical day in which your actions can lend a restorative quality to enhance your future. Take a giant leap to right the direction of your life. Take advantage of this extra time to venture forth and live your dreams. I think that's perfect.
That's perfect. And, I want to say that I get that, what you intend. I take it as well. And I think, every opportunity to have a conversation like this is a gift to me. Wasn't always my career path. I used to have conversations where people weren't enjoying, being prosecuted for certain. Now I get to pull out from the beauty of who you are, the gift of the interview, what tidbits and wonderful wisdom you bring. I want to say that is really empowering as well, that you shared what you just did, because it's never over till it's over. And if you want to improve your life, play the hand you're dealt, right? Play the hand you're dealt, and move forward accordingly. I love this part of the show, the final inspiration, but I have to add a guest star today to this part as well. And this is Valerie. Who is this?
This is Topher.
Okay.
And Topher is no longer with us, but he is manifested in my novels. And he was introduced in What's Not Said, had more of a cameo in What's Not True. And then again, listening to my readers, people said, we want more of the cat. And so those of you who have read it know that he has more than just a cameo appearance. And you know what I thought, Meg? Today was his birthday.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, all of a sudden, midday today, I said, February 14th.
Oh my God.
It's Topher's birthday. But he passed on right after I moved back in 2016 from Seattle, and he was 16 years old. I had adopted him. And he was a very good companion for me, and all after my divorce and my moves and everything. And so he was a good kitty.
So I was walking around the island today. I always contemplate, get ready for my interviews, and I'm like, I kept hearing, you need Topher, you need Topher, you need Topher. And I said to you, all right, can you please send me a picture of Topher? Topher wants to celebrate Topher's birthday today. So,
and he's sitting on a chair that I still have, and he was just a really special guy.
So what would be your inspiration today, inspired by Topher, or anything for that matter? What would be the inspiration you'd want to share with all of us?
So going back to, I think what I was saying towards the beginning, that I wish we all make each day a Valentine's Day.
Oh, I love it.
And that we be kind. That's what I try to teach Cecilia on a daily basis, to be kind and loving, and turn that frown upside down to a smile. And I think that it would be, think of it as giving it a gift to someone, whether it's someone you love or someone you don't even know. Someone may not have received a smile in a long time, and we can do that.
That's a beautiful gift on Topher's birthday. I love it. That's a wonderful bit of inspiration. I do want to ask you, what has been your favorite part of this journey so far, this writer's journey?
Oh, gee. I would have to say the people that I've met.
I love
you especially, and almost the tribe that has supported me. And I don't really consider myself a people person.
Really?
You would know that. I think I was a cat in my prior lives. And
that makes total sense.
But what I have found, because being a writer, an author, a published author, is that it has forced me out of my comfort zone, which is a good thing. And I think all of you people are like catnip to me.
Oh, I love that.
So it makes me happy, makes me jump for joy, not just for myself, but for all of the successes that I'm personally involved with all of my sister authors. So it's you make me smile. Sometimes you do make me laugh a lot.
If you don't laugh, sometimes you're going to cry. So you might as well laugh at the end of the day. And certainly when we're trying to unlock the beauty within through love, it's definitely much more fun when you are with people who are catnip to you, that give you that euphoric feeling, perhaps that smile, or perhaps that just, you got it, girl, you're going to go get this, you're going to do it. And I can't end today without putting these gorgeous covers back up. And, you know, I do think that the gift of a writer is to share their beauty of their imagination with the world. And if you love Valerie, like I love Valerie, certainly taking a book home and reading it, you get a little piece of her insight, her wisdom, her courageousness, her perseverance. And at the end of the day, perhaps you are changed, which you probably will be, certainly at the end of the book. So back to you, Valerie. Where can people find you and find these beautiful books?
Well, you can find me with Meg.
Come with me.
Well, my website is valerietaylorauthor.com, which I have to do some more work on.
But I'm going to spell it out. It's VALERIETAYLOR, author, AUTHOR.com, COM. So that's where you're going to find all the information. It's a work in progress, as we all are. So just go join her. Is there a newsletter they can sign up for? Is there some?
Yes, I have a newsletter that I branded, excuse me, behind and ahead, because I want to give readers not just information about my journey, but also some literary insights into one of the countries around the world.
Beautiful.
So I've done Spain and Italy and
Beautiful.
Ukraine. So I try to give some information about what's happened before in other places and about authors in other countries, and then ahead, what's in store, mostly, I guess, for me.
Well, you definitely are an aficionado of travel, certainly that's coming out from your books. And you know, who knows where the world is going to take Valerie, for sure. Yeah. What kind of stories she's going to get to tell us, and we all get to engage with. So, like, back to you, Valerie. Is there anything else you want to share with us today? Certainly, like I said, if you watch this at the 12 o'clock is the deadline tonight, you go ahead and watch this, make a comment in the feed, and you will also get a chance to win What's Not Lost, which is definitely a plus. So today being Topher's birthday, he gets to give a gift to all of you. February 14th, 2023. Put your name, put your comment in here by 12 o'clock tonight, 11:59, 12 o'clock tonight, and you will be in the running for What's Not Lost. And I'm going to throw in for Topher a copy of the Magical Guide to Bliss as well. So a gift from Valerie to all of you. And certainly I would encourage all of you to go write a review after you read the book, because that is the lifeblood of the author, is to get those reviews, tell them what you love about the book. And we can keep writing and keep entertaining, keep sharing and keep inspiring, all of the above. So back to you, Valerie. What else would you like to share with us today before we go?
So it occurred to me that I don't know what chapter number it is, but at the start of one of the later chapters on What's Not Lost, I asked the question, what is bliss? And I would say,
I might have highlighted that to tell you the truth.
But I would say that Meg is bliss.
Oh my God. I always try to be humble about these, because I'm just a vessel by which I get to share your story. But it is something that is very not lost on me. It's the honor and privilege of having these conversations with you. So I also thank you for that as well. So thank you, Valerie. This has been a very blissful conversation for sure. I want to thank you again, Valerie, and all of you for joining us today. This has been a beautiful afternoon. She's my Valentine, my Val date for Valentine's Day. And then what a blessing it is that I want to invite all of you once again to go to ValerieTaylorAuthor.com and check out Valerie's information, pick up What's Not Said, What's Not True, What's Not Lost, and support this incredible author so that she gets to write more fun things for all of us. And I also want you to remember that we're all the deliberate creators of our life. We are here to dream big, and at the end of the day, get inspired by the people around us so that we get ready to manifest our own dreams. So I'm wishing you all bliss. Happy Valentine's Day, sharing my smiles with all of you. Thank you so much, Valerie. I'm going to put our books up next to each other. I say go out there and go manifest the life of your dreams. Valerie, thank you so much today.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.